At CrossFit Lincoln, our passion is positively impacting and changing lives by creating a strong, brave, healthy community through education. We talk about nutrition, fitness, mindset, and more. From the Row Flick studio, it's Aaron Perkypile, Phil Kniep, and Paul Konarski. All right, well, welcome to CrossFit Lincoln Connections. Got another episode dialed up for you. It's Aaron Perkypile here with Phil Kniep, owner and head programmer, director of ops for CrossFit Lincoln. And Phil, how are you feeling today?
Feeling pretty good.
Yeah, you said you were tired.
Oh, a little tired. Well, we had a coaches meeting last night, so that turnaround makes me pretty tired sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
we're gonna go through some rapid fire questions here at the beginning. Warm things up.
Let's do it.
Okay. What book have you read recently that you've really enjoyed or has been really helpful for you?
The first one that comes to mind is Dare to Lead. So
for those of you,
those of you that don't know, we have a book club at CFL for our leadership team, and we meet once a week basically to discuss a book, and the last one was Dare to Lead. I don't remember any other books that I've read before that.
Dare to Lead is about shame and feelings, and right.
Yeah.
So we would call our meetings, our book club meetings, the feelings meeting.
Yeah, talk about our feelings.
Aaron's favorite.
Yep.
How about podcasts? You listen to any podcasts right now?
I like Ben Bergeron's podcast,
Chasing Excellence.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Two Brain Business has some pretty good stuff on there.
Yeah. They have Sean Woodland hosting that?
Yep.
That's
the
cool.
voice of the CrossFit Games. He hosts it, and then they talk a lot about gym ownership and business type of stuff. So
Sure.
That's a good one. And those are basically the only two I really like hone into. Every once in a while I get texts from people on podcasts I should listen to, and
Sure.
if I have time I will, but those are the two most consistent.
Okay. What do you do when you're tired? What do you do to recharge?
Outside of drinking coffee?
Yes. I'm surprised you don't have coffee with you today. Working out?
I was late, so I was debating on
Yeah.
whether to get coffee on the way here. But working out is one. The second, I notice when I'm more consistent with like riding my bike and getting outside, I have a lot more energy. So I live about 3 miles from the gym, so it's a little short jaunt, but just that little bit of time outdoors helps energize me for the rest of the day.
Cool.
Yep.
Do you ride your bike in the wintertime still?
Well, this is going to be the first winter where I've had my fat tire bike, and it snowed 2 Mondays ago, I think, and I did ride my bike in the snow, and I have been riding a couple times a week since then. So I'm going to try to stay consistent with that and ride 2 to 3 times a week,
Sure.
If possible.
Do you have winter gear to ride for when you ride? Like Emily, I don't know if anybody's in the gym seen Emily roll in the morning. She looks like a mummy.
Yeah.
Or
I don't have gear that is that intense.
Yeah.
I have some old snowboarding gear from when I lived in Colorado, some gloves and a stocking cap, and then I have like this scarf thing that I've been putting over my
Sure.
face when I'm riding,
Yeah.
but it's not cool gear or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this leads in nicely to what I want to talk about today with you. Being outside in the cold. I don't know if you've noticed, but some folks have noticed that as the temperature has gotten colder, we're still going outside to run and flip tires and farmer carry and different things like that. So, is there a time in the future where you see us not being outside in the cold for the 5 and 6 a.m. class? Specifically.
I don't know.
I'm coaching the 5 and 6 a.m. classes a lot. So
yeah, I mean, just programming gets a lot harder when you don't have that like other modality that you can program.
Right.
So you look at it in class, kind of the monostructural things that we do, which is like cardio basically.
Sure.
Is running, rowing, biking. So you take one of those out and it just like you have less variety of what you can do. So this year I've been trying to keep it in for as long as possible. I did that Monday where we had running. I didn't look at the weather. I just like programmed it and was hoping that we would have nice weather. When we had farmer carries the other day, I mean, we didn't have running, but
Yeah.
I did look at that to make sure it was going to be nice out. And then I looked at the weather last week for that running workout that's programmed for tomorrow, Kelly.
Yeah.
So right now it's kind of like I'm checking to see what the temperatures are going to look like.
Right.
But if it's going to be like 50, 60 degrees
Yeah.
during the day, then it's probably going to still come up. It's kind of right now we're on like a hit or miss type of thing.
Sure.
So if it's starting to get consistently cold and snowy and stuff,
Yeah.
it'll go away.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So in some of your podcasts, you've talked a little bit about programming before, and it's obvious that you know what you're doing because you're pretty fit, and we've seen a lot of people get pretty fit following your programming. But sometimes it's confusing either when I'm new or even after I've done this for a while to get an idea of methodology and terminology, and something that you've started to do more recently, probably the last few months, has been posting kind of the stimulus of the workout. And I don't know if people pay as close attention as I do because I'm a nerd, but following kind of cycles that we go through and the types of workouts that we're doing during those cycles. So for example, the open just finished. We've started this cycle where there's a lot more strength. We're doing bench press and deadlift and back squat and shoulder press, and there was something bent over row, maybe just a lot of
row, strict pull-ups.
Yeah, a lot more strength. And then we start to see the metabolic conditioning include intervals, and then this thing called steady state as a stimulus. And it seems to be a little bit longer workouts, a little more aerobic. So talk to us a little about, let's start with intervals. Why do we start seeing so many more intervals while we start this strength cycle?
So we are in a strength cycle right now, which means we're building some base strength going into 2020. Doing interval work is more conducive, or it promotes muscle growth basically, and you need muscle to add strength. So that's kind of the goal with the planned interval type of stuff, is that we can add muscle during that time frame. So and then one thing that like we kind of look at from the CrossFit programming standpoint, there's a lot of different goals out there for it. I mean, it can be used as like a competitive programming template. It can be used as a fitness template. So what I've been trying to do is look at it from both aspects, and they kind of like are cohesive a little bit in that regard, that you can kind of accomplish the same goal. So if you look at it from a fitness standpoint, being strong is important. So your body is basically made up of muscle and ligaments, and that's what holds your bones together essentially. Right. So if those muscles and ligaments aren't strong, and lifting weights gets them strong, essentially your body would fall apart, right? Yeah. So it's an important part of health and fitness. And then for somebody that's competitive, I mean, that's one thing that they test is your ability to move heavy weight in a short amount of time and all that kind of stuff. And then you need just basic strength to do handstand push-ups and muscle ups and those skills that are fun and get tested a lot in the open. So
how long will a cycle like this with a lot more strength work and then kind of these intervals, how long would something like that last?
Yeah, so this particular strength cycle, we're seeing Windler stuff, so it's going to be like 7 weeks.
Okay.
And then when we hit the new year, we'll have another cycle that's going to be a lot longer. That one will be like a 12-week strength cycle. So it'll be a little more. That one will be a little bit more of a bodybuilding type of thing. We want to like add that muscle first, because then after that 12-week period or 3-month period that we're doing, we're going to start adding strength to that muscle that we've built. And then
So you're adding
so-
muscle mass and then kind of strengthening and conditioning that muscle.
Yep, adding muscle mass or lean muscle basically,
Sure.
and then after that we're adding the strength side of it. So like the high, like your 1 rep max type strength, 3 rep max, 5 rep max, and stuff like that. So
So I have a question.
yeah,
We just talked about adding a lot of muscle,
yeah.
adding a lot of muscle mass, adding lean muscle. Will I lose weight if I do this program? Okay, will I still lose weight?
So the weight loss thing, I don't like using that word weight
Okay.
loss because, and I feel like I'm probably going to answer your question
Sure.
with this because usually, so say we have a member or a client or somebody that's coming in for weight loss and maybe they don't have a background in working out yet.
Sure.
It's really common for them to gain some muscle and not lose any weight, but their body composition changes a little bit. Yes, it is possible to lose weight and add lean muscle. Like lean muscle, like makes your body like creates higher metabolism. I should say that. And so when you have higher metabolism, your body is going to burn more calories throughout the day. So technically, yes, like weight loss would be a benefit of these next few cycles because just adding that strength is going to increase the metabolism. More muscle burns more calories. But if you are, it's dependent on the person. If you're a person that hasn't worked out, you may not lose weight initially.
Right.
It might take a little bit more time. It might be like that 6-month time frame where we're doing a little bit more, like we're adding more conditioning type of stuff into the CrossFit class.
So we kind of start with this build phase. We're kind of building the foundation, and then we get into more of a strength phase where we're really strengthening those muscles, and then we go into more of a burn where I get to kind of I've built up underneath this framework, and now I get to burn off all that fat and kind of show that off.
Yep.
But I'm still getting healthier over those 3 to 6 months, 5 months, I guess, is what we're kind of talking about.
Yeah. And we have to have that like base set first, so building that lean muscle mass initially is going to be important.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've noticed in the stimulus sum that there's been this steady state, dark state, garden state, deep state, Cornhusker state. What does steady state mean? Because there's been short, and there's been medium, and there's been long, but there's still that kind of steady state. What is it? When you say steady state, what do you want us to do?
I mean, really, when you're looking at programming, there's 2 basic types of like stimulus, and that kind of means like if you're sprinting or if you're going like long and steady, right? So one of those is aerobic, and that's usually those are anything that are like 2 minutes or longer for workouts essentially, and then like more anaerobic stuff, really those are anything that's like 1 second to 2 minutes. You're getting on like 90-second side and it's turning aerobic a little bit. But the steady state just means that the workout is probably a little bit longer and your tempo is going to be a little bit slower moving. So you're really not sprinting like you would if it's a workout that's supposed to be 30 seconds or something like that. And then I like to put it into perspective of running because that's something that many people can relate to.
Sure.
So if you look at a 5K run, your run pace from the very beginning is more of a steady state type of run instead of a sprint. But then if you move it down to an 800, that pace moves up. So an 800 is still aerobic, but you're going more of like a moderate steady state. And then if you go down to a 100-meter sprint, that's going to be more of an anaerobic type of thing where that's like super fast and hard. And then like a 40-yard sprint is going to be everything that you have for 5 seconds basically. So we're really just relating steady state to like the pace that you're going. There's no programmed rest time in it. So if you look at the workout and you see that means that you're supposed to be moving like pretty consistently during the time frame that's set. And sometimes that's long time frame, 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes that you'll see mid-range
Right.
steady state. That's kind of like middle of the road. I consider that anywhere from 5 to like 12 minutes, really. And then you've got your like sprinting type of stuff.
Sure.
That's going to be faster and on that aerobic or anaerobic side.
Okay. If we didn't have the Open, if the Open didn't exist, the CrossFit Open, how would that change how you periodized or like plan out your year? Would that alter that? Or, you know, when you're programming for specifically an athlete, maybe, because you do personal programming, and let's say they're going to take next year off for the Open right there. They have specific things that they're trying to build. They're trying to build specific strengths or specific skills. How does that change how you approach then that annual or even 18 to 24 month programming range?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, there's like two things with CrossFit. One is a health and fitness regimen, and then two, it can be used as like a competitive fitness program or a competitive sports and performance type of thing as well. With the Open coming up, it basically just gives us a point in the year where we're trying to like get athletes to peak at their best performance. So we want them to be able to perform their best at the Open. If you're an athlete, or if say they took the Open away, we would probably just find a point in time where we would want like peak performance type of thing. And that's really good for health and fitness as well, because we always want to change it up. And so every 4 to 12 weeks, we're changing kind of the focus and the strength cycle that we're working on, or the conditioning phases. So where people see plateaus in their fitness is when they've been doing the same thing over and over and over and over, like for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 3 years. And they're just like, there's no change happening. I've been at the same spot forever. So the cool thing with the Open and having that in there, it gives us that point that we can program around a little bit so that we can have those changes and focuses. And then like, there's the Open right there. And then we can kind of start it all back over again when the Open is over with. So I don't know how much would change if they just were like, there's no more Open. The programming template would probably stay somewhat similar to what it is now.
Would you maybe change to where you have kind of that peak performance thing show up every 6 to 9 months instead of every 12 months? Or would you have it happen more often or less often or the same?
I would probably keep it about once a year, because really like the body it can peak once per year. It's harder to peak multiple times per year. I mean, we could adjust it to like having that happen twice a year. That's not like out of the question or anything like that. But if it were like no Open, I'd have like a peak time at like 6 months, and then maybe another peak time at 12 months, or a peak time just at the end of the year. So it would probably change it up just in that regard a little bit.
Yeah.
But
so you're saying that even for like a general fitness, if I'm in the gym for body composition change or weight loss, or I'm not necessarily competitive or looking to compete, it's still important for me to go through this kind of build up, and then I'm kind of peaking, and then seeing what I can do. Why would I want to do that if I'm not going to compete or things like that? Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, those are still important to be able to do that. If you're starting CrossFit kind of in the middle of the year, you're coming into a cycle that's like a little bit different than like what we would like prefer. We would want you to be like, if it was like this perfect world where we could have everyone in our gym start like at this time and build through the year, that would be really cool. But we want to have those different like changes in what we're doing so that the body can like adjust and continue to like burn fat and change body composition and have different focuses and things like that. And then having those different areas that we're working on, like mentally keeps you in the game, because there's these little hills to climb. And then when you get to the top of one hill, usually you kind of take a breather, and then you go up to the top of the next hill, it just kind of like keeps you going.
Right.
Everybody is going to be different in their needs. So, like if someone's starting CrossFit in the middle of the year and we still need to build some strength or just like kind of build up that like response to weightlifting.
Right.
Like that's like what our coaches are there for. If that's you're newer, our goal is to like help you figure out like where you need to start. So maybe you're doing some different sets than the class is doing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why we're here.
Yeah.
We're here to help you get through it. And that's, I guess that kind of bodes for the reason why like looking at CrossFit from a long-term standpoint rather than a short-term, because we've seen like 6-week programs and stuff where it's like, yeah, those work for those 6 weeks.
Right.
Because a lot of times you're coming in from a point where your body is doing something different and you see the results from that. But then what happens when 6 weeks is over? What is the overall goal? What is the long-term goal? And that's how our programming is set up, is that it's long-term. So we have like a 1-year plan in mind, and then we have a 3-year plan in mind, etc. So
It's kind of like you wouldn't want to do a Wendler cycle over and over and over, back to back to back, because your body's going to get used to, okay, well, it's 5 and then 5 and then 5 and then 5 plus.
Yeah.
And it's 3, 3, 3, 3 plus, etc.
Yeah. And we have that long-term functional fitness and health and wellness aspect in mind for the long term.
Okay. Would you rather be an octopus or a spider?
I don't really like being in water, so spider.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow. It's easier to get stomped on as a spider.
And hide in a lot better places.
Are there any animals you're afraid of?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I want to admit this.
Is it sharks?
In front of everyone.
Oh,
no.
In front of everyone?
I'm not scared of
you and me.
So I would be scared of a shark if I saw the shark, but like I'm not necessarily scared of sharks. I'm more, I have a bigger fear of snakes.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about snakes, but just their like ability to crawl around without any arms or legs is just creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever tried to be a snake? Have you ever tried to crawl around without using your...
No, have you tried to do that?
Sure, why not?
How'd that work out?
Not great. Not great. How much coffee you drink a day? Don't try this at home, kids.
Probably a pot of coffee a day.
Yeah.
I don't know how big a pot is. Is that like 6 or 8 cups?
It could be 12 cups. It depends on the size of your coffee pot.
But
probably 8.
I've been trying this thing where it's like I'm done with coffee at noon, because it used to be I would have a lot of coffee in the morning, afternoon would hit, I would drink a lot of coffee between 2 and 3, and then I would go home and I had a hard time going to sleep. So I'm trying to cut caffeine out of my day
later.
So I'm probably drinking less than I was, but it's still a lot.
See, what I do similar, but I try to get all of it in the morning so that I still drink the same amount, just earlier.
And I think it's worse in the winter time because it's cold out and the hot is just awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Who's your favorite leadership team member? It's Paul. We know it's Paul.
No, I can't answer that.
It's Paul. It's Paul. Phil told Emily and I today that he loved Paul, and he said it about 3 different things in the same conversation. So we all know it's Paul. It's okay.
What I meant to say is I love Paul's voice on his videos and podcasts, because it's just like this smooth, creamy, like.
Who's your favorite?
Like I would listen to a book. Like
Yes.
if Paul would record reading the Bible or a book or something.
Yeah.
I would totally listen to that before I would go to bed.
We're going to have him
soothing.
He's going to be the voice of your books, of your audiobooks. Unfiltered is the latest book that's coming out by Phil Kniep. If you haven't already gotten Humble Strength, which is the story of Phil's life story, there's we were just talking about Coffee with Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Conversations about life with Phil. There's Stronger Than You, which is the story of Phil and Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then No Cameras Please, which is the story of Phil's trip to the CrossFit Games.
Wasn't that the first one?
Well, it was the first one, but
Okay.
I've remembered them backward. I remember the denominator one. So the next one
Yeah.
up is Unfiltered. What's going to be in that one, Phil?
I don't know yet.
It's going to be good.
It's like
You don't want to miss it.
act number 2.
Yeah.
You know, I just
Yeah.
turned,
The second
I turned
half of your life.
35 last year.
Yeah.
So
and,
it's
then,
like
and then the filter comes
act
off.
2.
Yeah.
first 35 years and then the second 35 years.
I
So
like it.
that might not be released for a while
Yeah.
because Act 2 is just
Not until
beginning.
this Christmas. It's going to be released this Christmas.
Wow.
It's as soon as I can get the cover made. As soon as I can get the cover made. If anyone can find those on Amazon, let me know. Because I have a royalty check coming in if they're there. All right, folks. Thanks so much for joining us for Conversation. Oh, that's not right. It's CrossFit Lincoln Connections. I'm thinking Coffee with Phil. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope to catch you next week. We'll have Paul on board to talk about stuff that's going on in his life. Have a great one, everybody. Heck, filtered. Unfiltered. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to launch this Christmas. This Christmas, give
so
the
many
gift.
people think those books are.
I know, it's amazing. And
Like,
every
I think Jay Gerber thought that those were. Oh, I didn't. Did you see his comment? That he made?
I didn't know Phil had
Phil
books.
was
I know,
a
an
author.
yeah,
I'm not.
I can't. That's what it's gonna be. I like it. Thank you, Ronnie, for this.